Hi, this is Frank, and we're moving on to the Florida Tanker Endorsement Test. This test, required for hauling bulk liquids, focuses heavily on managing the unique hazards of liquid surge and a high center of gravity. Let's get straight into the questions. Hauling liquids in tankers requires special care, primarily because the cargo creates a high center of gravity and is subject to what? Liquid surge. This is the movement of the liquid inside the tank, which is the biggest handling challenge. Let's continue. What is outage in a cargo tank? Allowance for the expansion of liquid cargo due to temperature changes. Outage is the space left empty at the top of the tank. Moving on. What is the maximum distance you should allow the liquid cargo to expand in a tank? The maximum outage. Consult the specific carrier or shipper's instructions, as it depends on the liquid. Different liquids expand at different rates, so you must know the specific liquid's expansion rate. Time for the next question. What is the term for the forward and back movement of liquid in a partially filled tank? Liquid surge, or slosh. This surge is strongest when starting or stopping. Next up, what is the best way to control liquid surge when starting or stopping a tanker? Apply power smoothly and brake slowly. Smooth inputs are key to preventing strong surge from building up. Let's continue. A vehicle with a high center of gravity is much more likely to roll over in a curve or during a quick maneuver. This is the greatest danger when operating any tank vehicle. Moving on. What are the metal dividers inside some tanks that limit the movement of liquid called? Baffles. Baffles partially interrupt the surge. Time for the next question. What is the primary advantage of a baffled tank over a smooth bore tank? Baffles help control the forward and backward liquid surge. They make starting and stopping safer and easier. Next up, what is the main disadvantage of a smooth bore, unbaffled tank? Extreme liquid surge, requiring greater driver skill to manage stopping and starting. The liquid can move the full length of the tank in one large mass. Let's continue. You are driving a smooth bore tanker that is partially full. Which hazard requires extreme caution? Starting and stopping due to strong liquid surge. This surge can suddenly push the truck forward or backward. Moving on. What are tanks without baffles often used for? Milk or food products that are cleaned with steam. Baffles make cleaning more difficult, so smooth bore tanks are preferred for products requiring sterile cleaning. Time for the next question. When driving a tanker, what is the best technique for taking a curve? Slow to a safe speed before entering, then accelerate slightly through the curve. Maintain a slight pull on the steering wheel through the curve to maintain stability and control. Next up, when driving an empty tanker, how does the handling compare to a fully loaded tanker? Empty tankers still require careful handling because they still have a high center of gravity. The empty tank itself places the center of gravity high and the wind can affect it more. Let's continue. What is the first thing a driver should check during the pre-trip inspection of a tank vehicle? For leaks, especially around the valves and fittings, leaks of hazardous or valuable liquids are dangerous and illegal. Moving on. What is the federal requirement regarding placards on a tank vehicle carrying hazardous materials? The vehicle must display 4 identical placards. Placards must be visible on the front, rear, and both sides. Time for the next question. Where should you look for information about the liquids you are hauling, including their expansion rates and proper loading? The shipping papers, bill of lading. These documents contain all necessary hazard and handling information. Next up. When a liquid expands in a sealed tank due to heat, it can create dangerous pressure inside the tank. This is why outage is so critical. Let's continue. If you are driving a tanker and the front wheels begin to skid, what should you do? Stop accelerating, do not apply the brakes, and steer gently in the desired direction. This allows the front tires to regain traction. Moving on. On a flat surface, the center of gravity of a partially filled tank vehicle is generally higher than a dry freight van of the same height. The liquid sloshing action makes the load center of gravity act much higher. Time for the next question. Which braking technique is most appropriate for a tank vehicle on a long downgrade? The stab braking method or the low gear controlled speed method. Using a low gear to control speed and intermittent braking prevents excessive brake heat and surge. Next up, what is the definition of a tank vehicle that requires the N endorsement? A vehicle designed to transport liquid or gaseous materials in bulk, 1,000 gallons or more. This capacity threshold triggers the requirement for the endorsement. Let's continue. If you are making a quick steering movement to avoid a hazard in a tanker, what is the most important rule? Do not apply the brakes while turning. Braking while turning will dramatically increase the risk of a rollover. Moving on. When unloading a multiple compartment tank, what is the most important consideration for stability? Unload the compartments evenly or unload the rearmost compartment first. Unloading the rearmost compartment first prevents the shift of weight to the rear axles. Time for the next question. What is the main danger if a partially filled tanker rolls while taking a curve? Side-to-side surge can push the vehicle's center of gravity past the point of no return, causing a rollover. The lateral movement of the liquid adds tremendous force. Next up, what is the purpose of bulkheads in a cargo tank? To divide the tank into smaller, separate liquid-tight compartments. Bulkheads prevent the liquid from moving the entire length of the tank, thereby controlling surge. Let's continue. When inspecting the valves and pipes on a tank vehicle, what are you primarily looking for? Signs of leaks, drips, or cracked fittings. Integrity of the fittings is critical for containment. Moving on. Total stopping distance for a tanker is generally longer than for a similar non-tanker because of the combination of liquid surge, high center of gravity, and heavier gross weight. All factors contribute to the difficulty of stopping. Time for the next question. What should you do if the liquid cargo you are carrying begins to leak? Stop immediately in a safe location, check the leak, and follow emergency procedures, including notifying dispatch. If the material is hazardous, secure the area and consult the Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG. Next up, why is controlling your speed especially important on downhill grades with a tanker? The liquid's weight can push the vehicle, increasing speed and reducing braking effectiveness. The extra momentum makes the vehicle harder to slow down. Let's continue. If you notice that you will not be able to stop before hitting a stopped vehicle, what should you look for? An escape path to steer to that is free of pedestrians and obstacles. Steering is often safer than a hard brake and allows for accident mitigation. Moving on. If you see a low bridge or overpass ahead, how should you confirm your clearance? Rely on the height warning posted on the bridge and your vehicle's known height. Never guess or assume clearance. Time for the next question. What is the preferred tank shape for transporting liquid bulk cargo due to stability? Elliptical or cylindrical? This shape minimizes the height of the center of gravity. Next up. When driving a tanker, the effect of pump and roll refers to the forward and back motion of the liquid when starting and stopping. This is another way of describing liquid surge. Let's continue. When is it most important to know the exact amount of liquid being carried in a partial load? Before starting the trip to check weight distribution and outage, the amount determines stability and legal compliance. Moving on. You are checking the tank mounting and frame on a pre-trip inspection. What are you looking for? Broken welds, secure mounting bolts, and shifting of the tank. Secure mounting is critical for safety and stability. Time for the next question. What must you confirm about the emergency shutoff valves during your inspection? They are in the closed position unless the vehicle is being loaded or unloaded. These valves prevent catastrophic spillage in an accident. Next up, what does a full tank do that a partially full tank does not regarding surge? A full tank eliminates liquid surge. Since there is no airspace, the liquid cannot move. Let's continue. When transporting hazardous liquids, the driver must be trained in Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG procedures, which is separate from the tanker endorsement, but often required with the WHAT endorsement. Hazardous Materials H endorsement. The X endorsement combines both the tanker N and hazmat H endorsements. Moving on. If a placardable hazmat tanker is equipped with dual tires, how often must they be checked? At the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. Tire integrity is paramount, especially with hazardous materials. Time for the next question. The overall stability of a tank vehicle is most significantly impacted by the combination of its high center of gravity and the free movement of the liquid cargo. High CG combined with surge is the recipe for rollover. Next up, what safety equipment, beyond standard CDL requirements, might be necessary for specific liquid cargo? Specialized protective gear, PPE, such as gloves, goggles, or respirators, required when hauling corrosive or toxic materials. Let's continue. Why should you avoid abrupt lane changes in a loaded tanker? The quick lateral movement can initiate side-to-side surge and risk a rollover. Lateral surge is the most dangerous type of surge. Moving on. What does the X endorsement on a CDL signify? A combination of the tanker, N, and hazardous materials H endorsements. This allows the driver to haul placarded hazardous liquid in bulk. Time for the next question. When filling a tank, the amount of liquid loaded must account for the legal weight limits and what other factor? The amount the liquid will expand during transit. This is why outage is mandatory. Next up, if you are driving a tanker and begin to jackknife, what is the primary cause? Over-braking the drive wheels. Locking the drive axles causes the trailer to swing out. Let's continue. In Florida, the CDL tanker endorsement knowledge test typically consists of how many questions? 20 questions. You need to pass 16 of them. Moving on. What is the passing score required for the Florida tanker endorsement test? $80 percent, 16 correct answers out of 20. Know your material to avoid retesting. Time for the next question. What is one way to check the condition of a spring brake in the pre-trip inspection? Check that the parking brakes come on automatically when air pressure drops between 20 to 45 psi. This confirms the emergency braking system is functional. Next up, why must you be extra cautious when turning corners on wet roads in a tanker? The high center of gravity combined with reduced tire traction makes rollover much more likely. Rollover risk is dramatically increased with poor traction. Let's continue. What should you always do before loading, unloading, or operating a tanker? Inspect the vehicle carefully. Inspection ensures safety, leak prevention, and regulatory compliance. That wraps up our practice session for the Florida Tanker Endorsement Test. You now have the knowledge to address the unique challenges of liquid cargo.